Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring Donut in the top right corner playing the blue Zerg, and in the bottom left we have Josko being our red Zerg. It is a Zerg versus Zerg. We are on Cloud Kingdom. Both players, I believe, are in Diamond or High Platinum. Very good league, a very fun time for anybody who's playing the game. Solid mechanics, solid builds, just plenty of room for improvement. Cloud Kingdom features a medium choke, which you can kind of wall off with, I think, one queen if she's perfectly placed, but usually you see two of them, and a medium choke right here. Last time I cast this with a Zerg player, I think they used 3 Evo chambers to wall off that gap, which is great because with the ZVZ, there's so much early aggression, so much early pressure coming out of that spawn pool, all those Zerglings and Banelings and whatnot. It's so heavily micro that even a pseudo wall-off can really cut down on the mobility of an army and give the defenders the added advantage, especially if they're going to play greedy. You need that sort of advantage when you throw down the hatchery first. Both players playing this specifically very common build. We're up at the 14 supply already. I would have expected to see any cheese happen already. No super early spawning pool or anything like that. There's such a large rush distance between the two maps that it makes super early aggression like the 6 pool or even the 10 pool very difficult to pull off because you need to do a lot of damage in order to justify that sort of build. We can see that both spawning pools have gone down at comparable times. The extractor has already come up for Josko. I'm going to struggle with that name all day long. Josko throwing the extractor down. Donut yet to grab it. So no early gas for Donut, no early tech, but it looks like he's got his drone in position and is saving up the money to throw down that hatchery. So he's going for a little bit more of an economic build, where Josko doesn't appear to be grabbing his hatchery yet, so more aggression. That extractor is going to save up 100 gas, and then I expect all those drones are going to be pulled back off to get more minerals so that more Zerglings can get out on the field with that speed boost, which is so incredibly important. Right when the spawning pool finishes, the first queen gets built for Josko as the extractor is coming up for Donut. So that queen, very important. Get the first couple of larva injects off and then maybe start working the creep down into the expansion. Even if he doesn't expect to grab it yet, it's really important to connect all of the bases with creep. And queen also adds just a little bit of added benefit. And even though we've got the 100 gas and the spawning pool is being researching that metabolic boost, the drones haven't been pulled off the extractor yet, and it's because this Baneling nest is on the way, which is bad news for Donut, who has that hatchery and nothing else. He's still mining gas himself, but it's because he's yet to start on that metabolic boost upgrade. His tech is delayed, his army count is delayed, even though the sheer number of Zerglings currently on the field matches the two. It's the tech advantage that those Banelings are going to afford Josko, that he's going to be able to punish Donut for the hubris of grabbing that early expansion. Baneling nest just now finishing pretty much at the same time that hatchery finishes. Donut does have a sizable army back at home, but with the 2 Zerglings he had out on the field getting surrounded by Josko, they went down, and I think that's the first loss of the game, 50 minerals. And with ZVZ, more than any other matchup, 1 Zergling, 1 drone, 1 queen can really differentiate the ending result. You see slow Zerglings against fast Zerglings, Banelings against Zerglings. Just a monstrous advantage for Josko currently. The queen moving down to the expansion just for some added support as secondary 1 stays up at the main, and the first drone morphs into a spine crawler. Very handy against roaches. Banelings are going to give significant issue for Donut as he continues to try to micro them away, but ends up losing 3 or 4 of them to that 1 Baneling. And again, that speed isn't quite done. It is on the way. Almost done for Donut, but until this spine crawler comes up, Donut isn't going to have much of a advantage, even though he's on his own home turf. 2 Banelings get into the probe line, some switch up, but unfortunately Donut decides to clump them all up, losing quite a lot of harvesters, even though Josko has cut the sheer number of harvesters by quite a bit. Donut, with that heavy hit, really doesn't have the harvester advantage that you would expect by grabbing that early expansion. 2 more Zerglings decide to call it quit from trying to take down the spine crawler and retreat. Good call by Donut to build that where he built that, when he built that, and as the swell of Zerglings come out, then none of them spot those Banelings being morphed into the high ground. If those guys meet and manage to get back up into that drone line again and do another heavy hit, then that will be another economic blow that Donut will have to struggle to recover. Multiple banelings being morphed in on the low ground. Keep an eye on that mini-map. Those banelings are just now starting to move. At the same time, Donut's Zerglings are going to come in. Got to watch them both very carefully. The Zerglings poking at the front door. Banelings making it in, taking out just a couple of those. At the same time, all of Donut's Zerglings run blindly up the ramp and meet those Banelings right there, getting taken down completely. A devastating loss for Donut. He's managed to keep his expansions up, but he's also managed to lose pretty much his entire standing force. And even though the resources lost tab doesn't show you how many resources Donut's lost, the majority of those resources that he's lost have not been harvested yet. It's by losing those drones, which really haven't allowed him to take advantage of the advantage that he should have by having that early expansion. Zerglings once again coming in, some very exposed drones. The Banelings have to be careful not to waste themselves on the wall. One of them does go down on that spine crawler, which was a waste, but 3 more Banelings going to make it up into the probe line. Very weak drones trying to kite the Banelings, again wasting another Baneling. If these two make it up into that probe line, they shouldn't though. There's a queen there, and Donut's well aware that they exist. He's got multiple 14 Zerglings on the way. A good positioning for the queen, catching that Baneling. So now there's only one. He's not going to be able to take down those drones. You can see that the Baneling did explode on the larva, taking them down. But with the plethora of Zerglings currently on the field for Donut, he's going to be able to push Josko back and once again secure his expansion. But this is really tight, especially as once again the upgrade advantage comes heavily into Josko's favor as he finally has roaches on the field. Donut's still stuck on just the Zerglings. Even though he has that Baneling nest up, he is only mining with 1 drone off of the extractor, just the single one, not getting nearly enough gas to create the massive amounts of Banelings necessary to deal with the Zerglings. 5 Banelings coming in. This ball of Zerglings has to be very careful, but you can see that the hatchery is getting very low on health, 350 health, and these roaches, as they begin to focus down the hatchery, will they make it? No, they get surrounded. The roaches get surrounded, and the handful of Zerglings are 17 health, and they get 18 health. They get taken care of by the Zerglings. It was 20 health for the hatchery, and Josko has another army waiting in the wings. This is definitely going to go down if Josko decides to move in with his force. He's deciding to press his advantage again with some roaches, Banelings, a healthy unit mixture. This spine crawler's not up. All of the Banelings detonating at the same time on pretty much nothing, just a handful of Zerglings. The spine crawler, which was built up on the high ground, moving down. The Banelings choosing not to focus down the very weak hatchery, leaving that, I guess, to the roaches. But with that spine crawler being built, these roaches aren't going to be able to get in range to do the damage unless they're going to take heavy damage. Josko really needs to get in there and just do the coup de grace. That 19 health hatchery needs to fall in order to justify all of the amount of aggression that Josko has done. The harvester count is heavily in Donut's favor. He's just waiting to secure this lower playing field so that he can move down, but he's got to be very careful with this weak hatchery. Josko's thinking about moving in. This is a very tense time for both players because it really hangs, you know, he's got to justify the aggression. Dual Evo chambers being built at the front. This is that wall off I was talking about, making this a little bit more narrow, preventing the roaches from getting in as quickly as possible. The Zerglings coming in. All the Banelings detonating on the majority of the Zerglings, they go down, but again, those roaches not capable of doing all the damage. As time progresses, this hatchery is going to get more and more health. This queen will get more energy that maybe he'll think about doing a transfuse. 1 or 2 transfuse will get it back up to a respectable amount of health, and this wall off is looking increasingly more intimidating, especially as the secondary spawn crawler is getting built. Josko, though, decides to pull back. The harvester count is actually pretty even, but the majority of the harvesters are actually up on the main for Josko, and he needs to move them down to saturate this lower ground once that hatchery finishes off. Donut already mining off of 2 bases, though the saturation is significantly smaller. Pushes out with his Zerglings to make sure that the ground is indeed clear of any aggressors, and he's going to move on into Josko's base to maybe bring the hurt. Just 2 roaches, 2 Banelings. Banelings definitely capable of dealing with this ball of Zerglings, but even with massive hits, the sheer number, especially with micro like that, Donut's sending 1 Zergling off at a time just to see if he can take down these Banelings, and one of them succeeds in doing that since that speed is done. Josko needs to buy a little bit more time for these 6 roaches to come out, and if he gets them on the ramp, he should manage to hold them off. But no, the roaches don't make it to the ramp. They're going to get surrounded and they're going to go down. We can see a Baneling is going to get morphed in. The sheer amount of gas coming in for both players is very small right now, as they've definitely moved on towards the mineral income to sustain the Zergling aggression. But as Josko has transitioned to roaches, he needs more. He needs more of everything, basically. He needs to get this base down. He needs to get it mining. And he needs to hold off the aggression coming from Donut. Donut, though, is mass-producing lings. He's got his own Roach Warren on the way. Yep, Roach Warren down by the main. And that wall-off is complete, so he's feeling very confident that he can hold off any aggression coming from Josko, and he needs to keep Josko from saturating this mineral line. Dual upgrades. It looks like he's going for the range attack. He's going to transition away from Zerglings, move over to roaches once that Roach Warren is done. He needs to up his gas production. He's got another gas geyser on the way and has increased the number of harvesters on the gas geyser. In fact, 2 more coming out. So once these get fully saturated, we'll have plenty of gas. We've already got a lot of money. So that'll be a lot of roaches come out for Donut, and once he has those roaches, he'll be able to batter down the door for Josko, who really still hasn't managed to saturate. There we go. Moving down all of his harvesters. Even though he had enough to saturate it before, he was nervous about bringing them down and exposing them to some of the Baneling hits that could be expected from this matchup. But now that he seems to have secured the door, he's got his roaches right there by the front door, he's feeling more confident that he can move down. In fact, he's going to start building his own wall, mimicking the build that Donut has. The first roaches are on the field. The 1-1 is finishing up. If he waits maybe another 20 seconds, that will finish completely. We can see the lair is being morphed actually down in the natural in its severely weakened state. That's kind of ballsy. Usually I love to see the lair morph there because it's one of the more secured places from drops. But in this state, with it having such low health, maybe that's just something Donut's doing. Does it normally, do it this time. Grabbing the third also. At the same time, he needs to come in and just do a little bit of damage to Josko's base. Poke in, keep him honest, keep him producing not just drones, but also units. We can see that Josko's also teching up, getting that lair out. Both players has a lot of money, but I don't think Josko's in the position to grab a third like Donut is doing. He needs to either build a macro hatch or double down on his upgrades, get speed out, or burrow something to increase the longevity of his army. Needs to be very cost effective, especially with the 2-2 on the way for Donut. 1-1 is finished. He's going to poke at the front door. It's an intimidating amount of roaches and Zerglings, and Josko has nothing on the way, just a single queen. His own 1-1 is just now started. That's not going to assist him in this battle. These roaches are going to start battling down the door. Excellent positioning for the roaches, making it so the Zerglings really don't get the surround necessary to do a lot of damage. But the roaches, there's so many of them, they're going to batter down all of these roaches for Josko. They go down completely. Now it's just drone on roaches, which is definitely not a good activity for those drones to be doing. More roaches spawning out, and the queens begin to batter down. But the sheer amount of roaches as multiple Zerglings come spawning in from Donut's main. This attack is incredibly effective. We can see the harvester count 26 to 45. Just devastating damage to that probe line. Instead of pulling back and just allowing Donut to sack the base, Josko decided to fight with everything he had, and what he had was not enough. There weren't enough static defenses in position to hold off the amount of roaches that Donut had. Donut did an excellent job at timing the damage that he was intending to do, just waiting long enough for Josko to get heavily into mining, heavy into drone production, and kind of back off on the roach production, which left him very vulnerable to Donut. And a good job grabbing that third, too. I think maybe instead of, I don't know, going to, once you got the lair up, maybe going for a Spire. Mutalisks could really help with this sort of matchup, but I don't know if there was enough time. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think one way or another. You could leave a comment here or on Reddit. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am big and scary.